Thought and inertia. Should 10 million suns rising all at once eclipse the earth, fire and water and all else, that ascendant presence of thine radiant ever abide. Be it askance, pray give but one glance from the corner of thy keen eyes. O Uma's spouse, inertia shall vanish, no place has it in aught that is such as thy servant's cherished desire. On earth as in fire and in evenly flowing water, in air and in the sky. That state of thine which in all these five steadily endures, do give again and again, this even is our sole refuge. Mind first, then smell, and wakefully all five up to the dark mystery, is the will's domain of mind stuff made. From earth we touch to darkness boundary alas, inertia gross extends, these twain do all comprise. All of your such doctrine held Sukha sage and others, easily attained they thought it and in varied forms. They did transmit it down from age to age, such the Maya mystery of the Blessed One. Ah, how great, great, small and middling too, steady and waveless it rises. O mental firmament, from sinking into Maya's dross, from mind confused and foothold lost. O save and grant thy grace of erect immobility. O grace that round thy sacred presence wraps. O darkness light. O nook and public space. O core and what within the core's treasure dwells. O burner famed of the cities three, holding aloft the flambeau, how thy presence divine descending, while reigning still in thought's blue dome, as that city of fame, Chidambaram, is called. Could yet the cities three burn down, a marvel that is. Fresh mango bloom, O flowers nectar, confection sweet. O honey, luscious fruit, O rich juice, O master mine. Ever sought by gods, both of providence and grace. Thy lotus foot alone my final refuge is. Refuge art thou alone for this supplicant, O thou, who elephant's skin did strip and wear. O presence of mind stuff made, O chase somewhat at least this treacherous dark, and grant this servant thine thy grace. The duality of mind and body and an occasionalism which made them interact was the doctrine of Descartes, for whom the body was like a machine. This picture of the relation between the two aspects of the self or the personality has held the field in spite of the non-dual doctrines that have been put forward later. Synergism, antinomianism, bipolarity, ambivalence, and other theories implying duality have been in vogue in various branches of knowledge. Some have been stated psychologically, and others elaborated cosmologically. In earlier chapters we have had occasion to refer to these methods of approach under different settings, so that it will hardly be necessary for us to enter here into any fresh discussion of what they imply. If truth itself is not to be dually conceived, at least the method of arriving at truth and making truth prevail in life requires the recognition of some sort of duality. Contemplation, stated in terms of a goal or end, needs taking account of the positive and negative division of what we call right reason or understanding, as a means for the guidance of all aspirants to higher unitive wisdom. The contemplative mind, confronted by multiplicity, has to categorize and deal methodically and critically with the subject according to an implied science, on somewhat the same rational footing as in mathematics. Understanding or certainty needs the form of an equation, and before any worthwhile conviction can result, the terms at least of the equation have to be intelligently related. It therefore follows that it is necessary for us to have correct notions about what we mean by mental and material. Or as the Bhagavad Gita puts it, about the distinction between the field and the knower of the field. This distinction and the understanding of one in terms of the other is of the essence of wisdom. In this present composition from the pen of the Guru Narayana, this very problem is confronted in his own unique way. In a blending of devotion, contemplative mysticism and critical elements, the whole affording a basis of life for the Brahmachari. For one who would walk in the path of Brahman, for one dedicated to the wisdom of the Absolute or to that divine ground, which is neither thought nor inertia, but in which these are inserted, or basically established. Should 10 million suns rising all at once eclipse the earth, fire and water and all else, that ascendant presence of thine, radiant ever abide. The imagery here aims to sublimate, as it were, the material aspects of the five elements: earth, water, fire, air and space ether, conceived phenomenally into a numinous presence. In such a process of contemplative transmutation of values from the grossest tangible or earthy to the spiritual, the reference to the rising of 10 million suns is both apt and necessary. The quantitative aspects of the vision have to be converted into the qualitative before the real import of what constitutes the divine presence can be understood with any degree of rationality or positiveness. Inert conditions of the gross, earthy, material world have to be conceived in terms of the omnipresent, all-filling principle of light. The ontological aspects of reality are thus transformed in real and living terms into transcendent or ideological aspects, disclosing the mechanism of their relation and possible interaction. The two aspects are not after all so distinct as they are represented to be in systematized doctrines or articles of faith. By an intuitive grasp of the whole in non-dual vision, one can think of one in terms of the other as counterparts or ambivalent equivalents. When the contemplative vision dominates the personality, then the lethargic heavy inertia yields place to the resplendence which fills all. While the outside phenomenal world is inserted without conflict into the psychological or inner world of the self, transient cross-sections of reality give way to the eternal flux of pure becoming. Eternity itself gains a new and purer meaning, removed from the relative aspects of time. Such are some of the suggestions contained in this opening verse. Koti means crore, the Indian numerical term for 10 million. Kedumaru, so as to extinguish, has been rendered, should eclipse. Be it askance, pray give but one glance. From the corner of thy keen eyes, O Uma's spouse, inertia shall vanish, no place has it in aught that is. Such is thy servant's cherished desire. Uma's spouse is a reference to Shiva as the husband of Parvati, also called Uma. The mystical union of the two blends ambivalent counterparts. The god who can make Uma happy by his understanding of feminine nature, and able to deal with it as befits the unitive vision of contemplation, has also a certain compassionate attitude and kind look for all. This look makes us think of one keen eye rather than of one who sees actuality with the two eyes open. Shiva is sometimes also represented as being androgynous and as having a central eye in the middle of the forehead. The Guru here does not refer to this middle eye as a distinct organ, but prefers the psychophysical imagery of a keen meeting point of the glance of kindness in poetic terms, familiar in the context of love. The word, askance, suggests that the full glance of the God of grace may not be fully deserved by the devotee with his sense of humility and surrender to the higher principle. Being related to this higher principle of kindness or grace helps in the sublimation of the lower order of living. The inert view we take of the physical world loses its importance when the contemplative way begins to prevail and becomes more and more firmly established, as it advances in terms of grace or higher value. The indirect reference here to Shiva as the consort of Uma, the daughter of the Himalaya, white-clad and pure. The principle of beauty is mentioned in the Kena Upanishad, has its own relevance. Like the Beatrice of Dante, this principle of beauty is the intermediate stepping stone to the appreciation of the divine grace in the abstract, in relation to the absolute principle. It takes a great god like Shiva to be happy and confer happiness on Uma. The supreme principle can transcend all and prevail as the final value of bounty or grace. When affiliated to such a higher principle, the mind is lifted out of the setting of inert matter which has no reality, no existence by itself, apart from its relation to the higher principle of all truth. On earth as in fire and in evenly flowing water, in air and in the sky, that state of thine, which in all these five steadily endures, do give again and again, this even is our sole refuge. Just as gravitation is a principle regulating the movements of bodies in the universe, so it is possible through contemplation to arrive at a sustaining and preserving principle which gives continuity and therefore a permanence, by contrast to phenomenal expressions. The sectional view which the mind persists in taking of the physical world results from inability to appraise the principle of continuity. When this new or vertical view is taken, we find that terra firma has a new status in reality as something of human value which endures more than space. But thin air or space, on the other hand, suggests the ineffable spiritual aspects. Between the extremes of solidity and space there are the states of fluidity. As in water, the fire that burns upwards, and the still thinner condition of air. Throughout these graded levels there is a constant axis of interrelationships which shows the same reciprocal interdependence or bipolarity, which is the dual manifestation of the unitive reality of advaita non-duality. Gravitation is common to all objects, and yet objects in relation to the earth in particular instances are said to come under the earth's gravity, as if it was a quality of the earth only. Whatever the variation in the name, the universal principle, when conceived as it ought to be in its entirety, satisfies the requirements of an all-comprehensive law of matter both in electromagnetic and gravitational terms. Similarly, this universal, ordering, unitive principle is the enduring state of grace or goodness alluded to here in this verse. This can be seen to correspond to either a law of reality in the terminology of positive science, or as a principle of divine grace in a more or less theological sense. The expositionary style, whether academic, monastic, lay or expert, should not make any difference to the subject matter, without violating the methodology or terms of knowing of any one of these. The Guru is able here to state the case for a contemplative and comprehensive view of reality with as little sophistry as possible, in a setting of reverence and devotion which need not itself be treated as unscientific. Mind first, then smell, and wakefully all five. Up to the dark mystery is the will's domain of mind stuff made. From earth we touch to darkness boundary, alas. Inertia gross extends. These twain do all comprise. The central doctrine is expounded in this verse with unmistakable clarity. The contemplative way, to have a proper method of its own in order to arrive at any convincing results, must needs divide all reality broadly into two primary categories such as envisaged in the expression in the Bhagavad Gita already referred to, about the field and the knower of the field. In this verse the question of the perceptual and the actual, which is one of the recognized problems of modern philosophers, is confronted. The categories and laws of thought have to be determined a priori. No experimental methods can be employed here to reduce such factors into the terminology of the applied sciences. Such a treatment is precluded by the pure principles involved. The only way open is to subject our own inner experience to a closely focused scrutiny, without confusion. We know we have a physical world surrounding us. We touch the ground and stand on it while talking of abstract realities. On one side extends this gross aspect of reality, and when we focus our attention on it, it becomes more and more inscrutable. It is like a cloud of unknowing, of negation, fear, inertia and ignorance into which we sink as if into a deep morass of darkness. Past memories and associations make this region doubly dark with all sorts of vaguely suggestive memory factors in which all is lost. On the other side, mental factors begin to assert themselves. Through the mediation of the senses such as smell, which, like taste, is nearest to the tactile sensations. Consciousness opens out fanwise or funnel-like, giving contact with the vast world of light. The sensible light has its own limits, and at its fringes it again merges into the mystery of the unknown. The dark unknown is a mystery looked at from either end with, in each case, its own specific implications. There are negative and positive ends of unknowing, and both meet in the numinous mystery in which all is comprised, as stated in the last line of this verse. Chinmayam, rendered, of mind stuff made, Chit being, mind stuff, and Mayam, wholly made of. Jadam has been translated, inertia gross. All of your such doctrine held, Sukha sage and others. Easily attained they thought it and in varied forms. They did transmit it down from age to age. Such the Maya mystery of the Blessed One. Ah, how great!